Welcome to day 20 of your 30-day Dental MBA, the friendly root canal. I can't think of a more exciting topic to talk about during a root canal. There's been more changes in root canals since I got out of school from '87 to the year 2000 than I can think of in any other aspect of dentistry. Root canals are fun. I think the reason I really got into these the most likely because they were what causing me the most pain. I mean, I got out of school, they were 3 one-hour appointments. I remember the first root canal I did with my Jan, my assistant first dentist, has been with me 12 years. I'm working on number 3, and I tell her that, you know, I was all the way to the handle, and I said, well, Jan, do we got any of those longs, those 25 millimeters? Jan had 10 years of dental experience before she's in there. She says, I've never seen anybody use a long on a number 3, and the lady's only about 5 foot tall. I said, well, come on, Jan, I'm not at the end. I still can't fill the end. She goes, I better take an x-ray. I go, no, Jan, just give me the 25 millimeters. She says, I've never seen that much blood come out of a root canal before. Are you sure you don't want an x-ray? I took an x-ray. I wasn't even in a canal. I had more problems, 3 one-hour appointments that were hard, more likely to run overtime, and you got 2 things there. If you got 2 hygienists going, if you got a 4-chair model, you either do work 2 chairs where you do cleanings in room 1 yourself while you go back and forth to do the dentist in room 2. Proportionally, you don't have the overhead of a hygienist. You only have 1 assistant. You got 2 chairs. You only got 1 receptionist. And those dentists are about as profitable as a dentist that's that's a very profitable situation. Or go to 4 chairs where you check 2 hygienists every hour and then you work 2 chairs. Because when you have 2 chairs and you're doing cleanings room 1 and don't have the overhead of a hygienist, it's not about gross, it's about net. Always play the net game. Dentists always talk about what their overhead is. Don't play the overhead game, play the net game. When you do cleanings in room 1 yourself, you don't have all that overhead of a hygienist. That's all bottom line to you. And then you're seeing enough cleanings to be able to throw out what you don't want to do. And what you can do in room 2 is play with. There's nothing I think is more dangerous than a hungry doctor or a hungry dentist. I mean, when orthodontists say they want to start 15 cases a month, and it's the 31st day of the month, and they've only started 10 cases, are they starting orthodontics too early? Are they doing ortho on cases that maybe should have waited a couple of years? Or are they, you know, whatever. I think it's when you're checking 2 hygienists an hour and you're filling up 2 chairs, if you don't want to do wisdom teeth, you got your friendly oral surgeon. He'll place your implants. You got prosthodontists for difficult cases. You're keeping your orthodontist. You're keeping everybody happy. So make sure that if you just want to pick grapes and you don't like leaves, then have a big grapevine. That's two operatories of hygiene for 2 operatories of dentistry, or 2 ops without a hygiene doing cleans back and forth. Let's go into the major difference between endodontists and general dentists, and let's start playing with this stuff. The percent of the U.S. population with medical insurance, 1940 is 3.9%, 1990, the year 2000 is 14%. As the percentage of people with health insurance has risen drastically, so has the amount of people that are keeping their teeth. 1960, the average 65-year-old only had 7 teeth. Now we're up to 24 teeth. When dental insurance came out from 1958 to 1963, the average dentist did a denture a day. Now we do a denture a month. The first thing we have to watch out, though, in the insurance is this. We've talked about it all the time, is market segmentation. The number 1 problem with healthcare today, according to Regina Hertzlinger, PhD, economist, Harvard University, who wrote an outstanding, legendary book, should get the Pulitzer Prize, called Market-Driven Healthcare, or read another one by the Wall Street Journal guy, Health Against Wealth. Basically, she says the problem with healthcare is a single high-price market stratification. Okay, we still, by day 20, hopefully you know, we're 2/3 of the way through this, hopefully you know what market segmentation is. You know, you go to Taco Bell, give them $1, get 2 tacos, go to a sit-down restaurant, you order 2 tacos at $7. I sit there and go to GM, they got a Chevrolet, they got a Pontiac, they got an Olds, they got a Buick, they got a Cadillac, and as the price goes up, the quantity of units sold goes down. As the price goes down, the quantity of units goes out. This is also known as price elasticity or price inelasticity. When you're going to get a Cadillac, it's not price dependent. When you're going to get a car and you've only got $100 a month for a payment, it's a very price elastic. Price has a very elastic effect on demand if it's price elastic. Raise the price too high, the demand shrinks back to that narrow units number of cars sold like of a Cadillac, and you lower the price, demand shrinks out like a Chevrolet. But when you're doing an HMO, and they're giving you $7 a month per person per head, and the co-payment for root canals may be, $150, $200, and you try to cut a bunch of corners. I still have a lot of questions about Dr. Angelo Sargenti, bless his soul. He was a pioneer in dentistry. We commemorate his death in the Farran report. Great guy. But you know what? Healthcare is played in your community. Your community has lots of politics. It's called the law of the land, okay? Well, the law of the land is standard of care. Standard of care is not perfect dentistry. Heck, it's C-plus dentistry. It's average dentistry. But it has to be the accepted treatment plan of the land. And what we see is that, you sit there saying, well, if I only get $200 a copayment, I'm just blowing a hole through the top, cleaning out, I'm just flipping Sargenti in there. Yeah, that works fine 99% of the time. Gordon Christian once joked in a seminar that Sargenti works fine as long as there's not an American endodontist around. The problem is, in statistics, if you take a sample large enough, you can damn near find anything. You do a root canal every day for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, one of them is going to end up in the state board. Jeffrey Toner, who's, I think, the greatest dentist or greatest attorney in dental malpractice, who, if you look at Penwell Communication, he's got a book there on dental malpractice by Jeffrey Toner, JD, and he says that every dentist will eventually end up in a lawsuit. I haven't had one yet, knock on my kidneys, but, eventually, I'm sure it's going to happen. Well, when you go down to the state board and you're flipping Sargenti and some comes out the end and they get a paresthesia, I'm telling you, you're going to open up your checkbook and you're going to write them for 50 grand. If you don't think this is a real problem, then how come under your dental malpractice, they ask you questions? Do you do IV sedation? They want to know that. That's, most people that die in a dental office have an IV in their arm, and it wasn't by an anesthesiologist. It was by a dentist doing both, and he couldn't do that in any hospital in urban America that had over 100 beds. Or they ask you, do you use nitrous oxide? And usually right on there, you mean personally or on my patients? And then, they'll say, do you use Sargenti root canals? When they're asking you those questions, why do they want to know? It's kind of like when my dad was telling me, he said, when you're doing a deal with some guy, and he asks you a question, he says, you always want to know, why was he focusing on that question? I mean, think about it. You're bringing in an associate, and you tell him that if he's going to work for you, you're going to pay him 25% of production adjusted for collection. If the patient doesn't pay, you have to adjust that off. Otherwise, he has an incentive to produce dentistry at a total disregard for collections, which is total disregard for profit. Then you sit there and say, but if you leave, I don't want to attract competition in my own backyard. If you leave my office, you cannot practice 5 miles of my office for 2 years, because when you came in here, you didn't carry a patient in here, and you came into my practice, I introduced you to all my people. If you leave, you got to go 5 miles away for at least 2 years. And if he comes back and says, no, I think it should be 3 miles for 1 year. Why is he focusing on that? The instant he drew attention to that meant that he totally plans on practicing in this area. That should have been your clue to just say, no, let him go. He wants to actually live in my backyard. So if he wants to live in your backyard, he's going to find a way to do it. By the way, on that deal, if he breaks your restricted covenant, a judge can't penalize him. And I guarantee a judge isn't going to go in there and have him shut down. So if he goes across the street and starts practicing, the judge isn't going to shut him down. And your contract, if it doesn't have a penalty, and there's nothing for the judge to enforce. And then if you go in there and sue for damages, the problem is you never have damages. He left, he took a lot of patients with you, but what happens is you picked up the slack, or you quickly got another associate, and you're all upset, and you go in there and you can't prove economic damages. The judge isn't going to shut him down. That doesn't work in America. Most of the laws written are all to protect your livelihood. The number one way you really want to lose in a lawsuit, start affecting someone's means of making a livelihood for themselves, and you're going to lose every time. All the laws are stacked against you on that stuff. So have a penalty. Just sit there and say, yeah, if you're my associate, when you leave, you can't practice anywhere 5 mile radius for 2 years. And if you do, you owe me $40,000 for every year you worked in my office, due, payable within 30 days of the day your office opened. And the judge says, hey, buddy, that's enforceable. You signed it. Remember, in contract law, as long as two parties agree to it, and they agree to, and it's, as long as it's not illegal, if two parties agree to anything, as long as it's not illegal, the judge can enforce it. You could have sat there and said, if you break this restricted covenant, you have to come over here every Saturday from 8 to 5 and crawl around in a circle and bark like a dog. Okay, well, that's not illegal. Come over and do it on Saturday. But if he doesn't do it, what's the penalty going to be? So, go economic damages, get them enforceable. But back to the Sargenti root canal deal, when the malpractice premiums are asking you these questions, in fact, a lot of you doctors, your wife checked them all off, forged your signature, signed it, you just wrote the check, whatever, mailed in. Get a copy of your malpractice. What questions are they asking you? If they're asking you these questions, pay close attention to what you're doing for standard of care. It's the same thing with a lot of people are going around teaching you pull. You don't pull any bicuspids because that's not sacred. So you pull second molars, like that's no big deal. It's just like these cosmetic gurus. They talk about all these dentists who prepare posterior teeth for a crown as butchers and hacks and destroying all that enamel. But then the minute you move from the second bicuspid or from the molar, where if you file down enamel, you're like a whore, and you go to the first bicuspid, then they want you to peel off all the enamel like a gosh darn banana peel and slap veneers on them all day long. And I'm like, okay, I smell another philosophical, religious fantasy yardstick where the measurement, you just bend the ruler to how you want to shape and measure your argument. Why is enamel sacred on molars and not sacred on enamels? And just like the woman who doesn't want to have her virgin teeth filed down for a bridge, but she doesn't care if I blow an implant and clear up through her sinus, pack her sinus with gravel and sand and cow bone and her own butt bone and all this other stuff, BMP and all this crap. So I don't know why teeth are virgin, but you can sink a Black & Decker drill and blow out my sinus with super glue. Whatever. People have their own yardsticks, but look at your malpractice premium because they're not insuring you for practicing in England or London or France or China where anything goes. They're covering you for your state. They know what lawsuits are going down. Believe me, you wouldn't insure someone for dental malpractice. You didn't have a very close actuarial risk analysis of what's happening in this state's board. So get a copy. What questions are they asking you? And root canals are on there. Do you use Sargenti? Do you use nitrous oxide in your office? Do you do IV sedation? Do you place implants? And another general rule of thumb is for every dollar the case goes up, directly positively correlates with a chance of lawsuit. Someone comes in your office and pays $15 for an x-ray, it's never going to be a lawsuit, ever. I mean, almost never. If someone comes in and does a filling, maybe it's the cracks, falls out, they'll get mad, they'll go somewhere else, they won't come back. But when someone comes in and pays you $20 or $30 or $40,000 for a case, they have very high expectations. And if something doesn't go right, it's state board time, it's refund time, it's lawyer time. So watch this closely. And, here you are doing an HMO and you're getting $200 for a copayment. You're cutting corners, you're blowing corners, you're doing root canals in 30, 40 minutes with Sargenti. It goes in front of the board, and they're going to bring in the Cadillac. They're going to bring in Mr. Cadillac, the endodontist, and she's going to have her, this is how she does a root canal, and she's going to say to the board, this isn't acceptable, and he didn't file it out, and it's not properly tapered and flared, and it wasn't debrided, it wasn't all the way to the link. She's got digital radiography, she's got Root ZX, she's doing warm gutta percha techniques, she's got lateral canals, and she says, this is junk, you lose, knock, 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 it's over. The only publicly traded dental companies that are the only people I see doing HMO dentistry correctly are HMOs, because these people go in there and they tell their doctors, look, we get $7 a head for this Medicaid dentistry in this state, and we have to do free fillings, free cleans, free exams. If the patient needs a root canal, the copayment's $130. You guys are in there for 2 hours, and the cost for those 2 hours was $290, and the copayment's $130. So you're not allowed to do them. So you basically said there, it's a root canal here, right on the plan. It says you can go to any endodontist, and they have found endodontists that will do these for maybe a 25% off. So they would have only given you like maybe $230 copayment, but the endodontist will do it for 25% off, and maybe they're charging $800 and agree to do it for $600. Once again, even on the own HMO, the endodontist gets twice as much resources as you do, and then then the capitation people say, no, but he's not getting that $7 a month per head per person. It's like, that don't even go to that argument. That's no way. That's funny math. That doesn't even work. Go to your fixed cost. Hell, just go to your variable costs. Just the variable costs. In dentistry, fixed costs are usually about 20% or less of a business. Variable costs are usually about 71 to 80% of the cost structure. So don't tell me the $7 copayment, which might be amortized on the fixed costs, could even pay for the variable costs associated with root canal. The endodontist always gets more when you're doing HMO dentistry, and so you lose. So the only people smart enough to make money on HMOs are going linoleum floors, $3,900 operatories. They got amalgams, they got IRM, they got extractions, forceps. If they have an in-office lab, it's to make flippers, partials, relines, things like that. And if you want a root canal, get out of this office. You want periodontal surgery, get out of this office. It's a market stratification for a certain economic group. And we see this the most successful in California, where they got Denti-Cal, where 16% of the people there, of the insurance population, they got a California, Pacific Coast, Oregon, Seattle, has 7,500,000 people on a Medicaid HMO Denti-Cal-like plan out of a population of 46,900. The most dense area is the Mountain. They got 1,200,000 out of 15 million. Next would be South Atlantic, the Florida, Georgia area, where out of 47 million people, they got 3.8 million covered. And then it gets so low, you know, by the time you get to the middle, in Kansas and Idaho, it's down to 3%. For most trends, if California's at 16%, they're always in first place in every gosh darn thing they do. I think that's about saturation out there. It might hit 20%. I think dental HMOs, 25 years now, will probably be 20% of coverage of insurance population coast to coast. And there's nothing wrong with that, because let people go in there and do that, especially these publicly tradeds. And they'll go in there and they'll do a good job. They'll hire dentists out of school who will love the experience, who will love the initial job, who years back would have gone into the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and now they're cutting back. And if these people don't go in and do it, it's called a market failure. Then Hillary Rodham Clinton's going to try to do it with her socialized health care. And you know what socialized health care is? That's where Hillary takes her Rodham and gives it right to you. So basically, what is a quality? Well, quality first depends on the market segmentation. Are you talking about a quality Chevy market stratification? Or are you talking about a quality Pontiac, a quality Buick stratification, a quality Cadillac stratification? But once we're inside a market stratification, which means any mean, I don't care what market you're in, I don't care what average you're in, the average Chevy, the average Pontiac, the average Oldsmobile, the average Buick, the average Cadillac. Once we're in that market stratification mean, we want the variance to be tight. Every time we get a Ford Taurus, we want it to be the same. Every time we get a Big Mac, we want it the same. Every time we open up a can of Diet Coke, we want it to taste the same. You know, standard deviation 1, left to right if you go to the slide here, you know, standard deviation 1 is 16.5%. 2 is 95.5%, 3 is 99%. But here's what we call a normal distribution, okay? That's a normal distribution curve. But quality would mean a very low variance. That's where almost everything in this market stratification was a very consistent, reliable product. Every time you whip up a box of Kraft Dinner, it tastes the same, okay? Every time you open up this Dr. Pepper, it tastes the same. You don't want to have, back to here, a wide variance. It's an inconsistent product. This is high staff turnover. Remember, 25% of Americans get a different job every year, so the average American has a job about 4 years. You should try to get close to that or beat it. You want a consistent service, everybody in an assistant uniform, same corporate color, same corporate logo. You want a tight, reliable franchise system, even though you're not franchised. So basically, so in summary, what I'm saying is, do the root canals to the level of the endodontist or get out. I mean, even the successful HMOs are sending them to the gosh darn endodontist. Don't play. Of course, the insurance broker wants you to do the root canal for $230. Hell, he wish you'd do it and then pay him $230. But don't play that game until the government and the state boards understand market segmentation. As long as we stay under a single high price market stratification that's out of touch for about 40 million Americans, it's a very dangerous game to play. So right now, HMO is about 14%. There are not endodontists in 8,675 cities. We talked earlier that there's 19,279 cities, villages, boroughs, and towns in the United States. Only 8 of these cities have a population greater than 1 million. Even go to New York. You got New York City, the big city. But how many thousands of little towns and villages are there that you can't even name in New York, in the state of New York? 16,901 of the cities, villages, boroughs, and towns, or 87% of the population, has less than 10,000 people living in their town. Can you believe that? 87% of them have less than 10,000 people in town. 8,675 of the cities, villages, boroughs, and towns, or 45% of the cities, villages, and boroughs, have not one of the 8 specialties recognized by the American Dental Association in their town. Now, endodontists actually only do about 5% of the root canals. In 1992, the United States of America performed 25,400,000 root canals. Endodontists only did 5% of them. I don't like calling them general dentists. I like family practice. Family practice or general dentists did 95% of them. The average yearly income of an endodontist is $192,000 a year. Average general dentist makes $122,000. So your endodontist makes $70,000 a year more than a family practice general dentist. And think about this. The endodontist is only seeing 6 to 8 people a day. Family practice general dentist, counting hygiene, 22, 24 people a day. What's the big deal? Well, the big difference is the endodontist is charging $700. You're charging $500. And he's in the same building. He has the same rent, mortgage, equipment, bill, like computer, insurance, malpractice, professional dues, continuing education, update. And when you're a receptionist, your labor is your highest expense category. And your receptionist quits your office and goes to work for an endodontist next door in the same building, get paid the same, state tax same, FICA matching the same, Medicare, Medicaid, FUTA, HUDA, SUDA, every other blood-sucking government, IRS taxation is the same. Same thing with your assistants. And you know what's funny? Is how many times have I given this seminar and a receptionist came up to me at the break. She said, you know what? I used to work for an endodontist for 10 years. Every patient came in, I'd say, you know, the fee for your root canal day is $700. Everybody'd say, damn, that's expensive and pay. And then the next person come in, yeah, your root canal $700. They say, damn, that's expensive pay. After doing that for 10 years, I went next door to work for the family practice dentist. And you know what? The first person, when I saw that fee for $500, I thought, my God, what a bargain. And I told the patient, I said, yeah, the root canal day be $500. They go, damn, that's expensive and paid. I have never heard a comment either way. I've never told a patient the root canal is $500 and said, damn, that's great. Costs $700 right next door, and both people are held to the same standard of care. This is fantastic. So I think your best pricing stratification is this. It's cost plus profit equals price if you want to do everything ass backwards, okay? You arrive at your price backwards. You just do it. You take a cost. You add your profit, you arrive at a price. You don't really know if you're a $10,000 Ford Escort, which is the #1 car in the world, or a $20,000 Ford Taurus. You're supposed to do price minus the profit you need, or you will go out of business, equals your budget. If I ask an engineer, I say, I want you to design me a car. First thing out of their mouth, what's my budget? Oh, a dentist would say, just put a great car together, then we'll add 20% on, that'll be the price. They say, well, I think, am I making a Rolls Royce? Is it a used car? Is it a Model T? You know, you still got to give me some parameters. See, you don't have parameters because you're not a business person. Well, I don't think at the HMO level, I don't even think there should be root canals. I think if the HMO person wants a root canal, they need to go to endodontists where they have found endodontists maybe just starting up or struggling or personality defects or whatever their case may be of why they want to give everybody a 25% discount. I don't know why. If they want to do that, that's fine. Send them there. Because they'll still get, at 25% discount, they're still getting twice the variable cost copayment you're getting with your HMO. But if they come into you, you have to do it like the endodontist because that's who's going to grade you in our U.S. health style, single stratification, high price style system. So the endodontist, for instance, when 300 RPM night eyes came out, gosh darn, the world's only got about 3,200 endodontists in the world. When 300 RPM night eyes came out, that .04 taper, Tulsa Dental products, it was something like 80% of the world's endodontists bought it in the first 2 years. Okay, you're in there with little hand files and doing this for 3 one-hour appointments, and they got these Tulsa Dental product, 300 RPM night eyes with a .04 taper, and they're just absolutely cleaning this thing out to a beautiful flare taper in a couple of minutes. Well, how come you can't afford to go see Kit Weathers and Patrick Wall and Griffin? How come you can't afford to go see, gosh darn, all of them, really? I mean, I don't care if it's Cliff Ruddle. He's a great one. He's out there in California. Ben Johnson in Tulsa, Oklahoma. G. John Schofield, Dana Point, California, with Dentistry 2000. John McSpadden in Chattanooga, Tennessee. These guys all do all the root canal. About 90% of the root canals are done under an hour. Extremely consistent, tight quality. I mean, their fills look like, if you had a fill like that, you take down that deer head above your fireplace with 12 antler points, and you put a big old x-ray of that root canal. I mean, they look great. Okay, well, the reason you can't afford to take their course, I had people come up to me saying, well, I really wanted to get Cliff Ruddle's videotapes. So, my God, they were like over $1,000. I said, what do you get for a root canal? $500, so what, 2 molar root canals and you cover that? See, you got to think in abundancy. Don't think scarcity. Don't think I'm going to only do 2 root canals no matter what. So if I give Cliff Riddle $1,000 for the videos, I lost all my money. Think abundancy. Say, well, on only 2 root canals, I'll have the money for the videotapes, and if I get the videotapes and I do them all faster, with less defects, with less failing, how much money do you make when a root canal comes back 3 years later and you got to cut off the crown and undo it and clean it all out and repack it? How much money that cost? That was a negative $500. Think in growing abundancy, as Stephen Covey would say. And remember on root canals anyway, that there's 260 million Americans, almost 130 million of them have no form of dental insurance. Only 23 million, which is 9%, are in the HMO bottom stratification price sector. Another 15 million, or 6%, are in the PPO stratification. 92 million are in that middle strata, the Delta Dental. That's 35% of the market. And don't throw rocks at these guys. They're doing needs-based dentistry, and you should be selling once. You should come up with your own installment credit. Because remember, in the United States, anything over $1,000 in the last 5 years, 80% of it is financed, and you're still telling people, oh, your root canal bill and crown will be $1,600. You have no insurance. I need that portion right now. And then you want to know why they're balking and screaming and running to their employer for help, running to their government for help, because you're a market failure. They wouldn't be going to the government for help to get cars or houses because free enterprise gives it to them on installment credit. They're running to you for help because you're breaking every law for enterprise. If it's over $1,000, 80% is finance, you're still not telling these people, here's your installment credit payment based on your cash flow. You still think it's price. So when these people come in, and by the way, here's the relative cost of dental insurance. This is my favorite handout. I love giving this to patients. You want to go to the slide. And you know what you get when they say, I don't have insurance, say, well, you know what? If you have the lowest price insurance, the HMO, Health Maintenance Organization, or CMC, capitated managed care, the bottom price stratification dental insurance is only $12 a month per person, and the highest dental insurance you can buy is $20 a month per person. So when you tell me you don't have insurance, I mean, I don't know what insurance is. I mean, can you hand me some insurance? Did insurance flying around the room? Is there insurance in your pocket? See, it's the quantitative way to measure insurance is the benefit. Okay, are you talking about you don't have $12 a month for an HMO or $20 a month for dental insurance? See, now it clicks. Now the person feels consumer mastery. It's like, oh, really? Or is that right? Huh. So basically when my boss said he can't afford to give us dental insurance, he really said, I'm not giving you $20 a month. Why, that little tight ass. And it starts putting everything in perspective. And it makes people realize, well, God, $20 a month. I mean, God, I eat out 2 nights a week. I have a big screen TV. I went to Disney World last year. You're right. It's I got the money. It's just I don't have a priority. 1960, average adult had 7 teeth. At 65, the year 2000, it was 24 teeth, according to the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Go see these molar endodontic courses. G. John Schoeffel at Dentistry 2000. Call him at 404-227-3882. 404-227-3882. Or Ben Johnson. I mean, this guy, what is he going to do for an offer? First, he comes out with Thermofill. I mean, unbelievable. Sells a Dentsply for $75 million with another $25 million bonus at the end of 5 years. And then, if that wasn't enough, he goes out and invents NiTi 300 RPM Tulsa Dental product. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. And the 300 RPM NiTi system was bought by 80% of the world's endodontists in like the first 2 years. You can call him or go to his courses, 918-493-6598, 918-493-6598. Or Kit Weathers and Patrick Wall out of Griffin, Georgia, about an hour outside of Atlanta. When you're driving, you land at Atlanta and everything's normal. Then you start driving into Griffin, all you can think about is deliverance. The towns get smaller. You start seeing shacks. By the time I got to his house, I was running for a phone. It was a really great experience. He calls it Endo Magic, 1-800-222-9515, 1-800-222-9515, or go to the master, John McSpadden, Chattanooga, Tennessee. This guy probably has more intellectual cerebral gray matter than any dentist out there. He's in Chattanooga, good old boy. Has an auditorium right in his office. Call him up at 615-899-7979, 615-899-7979. So basically, what do we know about these specialists? Endodontists get out of school about 5 to 9 years out there at $145,000 annual income, 10 to 14 years at $180,000, 15 to 19, $225,000. So it takes them 19 years out of school to peak at 225. Then they start the backward slide. They start taking off Fridays, going to country clubs. And at 24 years out, they're down to 210 net. 29 years out, they're down to 190 net. 34 years out, they're down to 180. And 40 years out, they're just right back where they started at 145,000. Well, why does it take them 19 years to get to 225? Well, number one, you know, we talked about all the time that the more hours you work, the doctors you work over 40 hours a week average 140, 32 hours a week 105, 32 or less 85. So, you know, work more. And when you're young, you should work more and you should take more continuing ed so that you can get there faster. Now, another thing before we start talking about how we do the actual root canal, just setting this up a little bit, is the average general dentist has 3.5 operatories. Average specialist has 5. The average square feet of a dental office for a family practice general dentist is 1,600 square feet. Endodontist, 2,300 square feet. 5% of general dentists have a second office. 35% of specialists do. Now, that specialist thing, that more than one office, that's unique for specialists. But key in on the first thing. Specialists have 3.5 chairs, or general dentists average 3.5 chairs. Specialists have 5. Why? Because what does an endodontist know? You refer a toothache to an endodontist, and they call back your office and say, I just called down there and they can't get me in for a week and they got a toothache. Will you give me a week's supply of pain pills? You're going to give them a name and number of specialists. So what do specialists do? When the patient calls up, they listen to the consumer. They keep both eyes on the customer. The customer did not say, yes, I have a toothache. I was wondering, will you numb up my tooth, access my tooth, take out the old crown, the old filling, clean out all the decay, access all 3 or 4 of my canals, file them out, irrigate them with bleach, and then dry them out with paper points, and then put sealer, and then pack it with a gutta percha, and then temporize it. That's not what they said. They said, I have a toothache. Is there any way I can get in to see the doctor? See, endodontists have chairs where they do root canals, and they have chairs where they catch fish. Just because you catch a fish doesn't mean you have to cook, clean, and eat it. Your receptionist does not like to give you endodontic toothaches. In fact, when I go into offices and they'll say, oh, we refer all of our toothaches to an endodontist. Usually it's a dentist like over 40, over 45. And I'll say, really? Well, that's cool. You got your practice to a place where you probably got 4 chairs, 2 full-time hygiene, where you can just do the stuff you like and you just refer out the stuff you don't like. And he'll say me kind of confusing. He goes, well, actually, I like root canals. In fact, I'd rather do a root canal than make love to my wife. And I say, well, then why do you refer them all to endodontist? And he says, you know what? We just got in the habit of that. No. You go back to the front office. Receptionist has been with you 20 years. She said, if I squeeze in a toothache, that idiot will put us behind an hour and a half. He'll numb up. He won't catch the fish. He'll cook, clean, eat it. So remember, when there's a toothache, satisfaction equals perception minus expectation. Receptionist, ask him on the phone, well, what are you expecting to have done? They might have had 7 root canals. And they say, well, I'm hoping to go there and just do the whole thing. Thinking, wow, well, maybe, you know, all us doctor be minds if I blow out his lunch, or he wants to throw in at the end of the day and do the whole damn thing. But they sit there and say, well, you know, I was hoping a doctor could look at it because it really hurts. Well, then they come in, you can take an instant digital radiography x-ray, and then you look at things, oh my God, you got an infection, and I know it's in the nerve because it hurts, and I need to put you on antibiotics, not because I don't have room for you for 4 days. Usually I always say, you know, the infection's in the nerve, and I think I need to put you on antibiotics for about Jan, how long do you need to be on antibiotics? Till Tuesday at 2. Okay. You need to be on antibiotics till Tuesday at 2. We'll put you on penicillin because I'm sure you're already immune to it. And so we're not wasting another antibiotic. And we'll see you Tuesday at 2. And if you pay for that today, we'll give you narcotic. If you don't pay for it today, you know, it's buffer and Motrin because, you know, I don't want to get the rumor mill out among the druggies that we hand out Vicodin for rescheduling toothaches. That's a bad deal. And that's a very bad deal because then you have a lot of deadbeats tricking you all the time. Coming in there faking pain, this and that, and all they wanted was that. It just wastes your time. And then you're always concerned about your dentistry not working because they're just coming back and saying, oh, it still hurts, and you're thinking it's you. And he's faking the whole thing just so he can get more narcotics. So be real careful about narcotics and that stuff. And but just go in there and digital X-ray, take a picture instantly. Oh yeah, you got a cavity in there, need a root canal. You don't. Well, what do you expect to have done? Well, I don't know. What do you think? I said, well, you know what I'd like to do? You got some infection. I'd like to put you on antibiotics. I'd like to bring you back in 2 days, and we'll cook, clean, eat you there. Okay? Don't put the whole staff behind. If a rat licks a switch and it shocks him, even a rat will quit licking it. If he licks it and gets a reward, he'll go back. If you squeeze in a toothache and you run your whole staff behind, they all expect to get off at 5, now it's 6, and plus while you're getting everybody behind now as your staff get out late, all the other patients come in the front and say, What time's my appointment? I thought my appointment was 2 o'clock. It's 2:30. What the hell's going on? And the staff, hell, no wonder most staff like to glass themselves in and keep away from the gosh darn dentist. Hell, there's so much negativism going on. You got to stay on time. The fastest way to stay on time is to add more operatories. I don't know how you could ever stay on time if you used all your operatories one time every day. Where would be your variance factor? You know, in operation logistics, you sit there and you say, where's the constraint? You know, I'm making a 4-step process. I'm making a Barbie doll in 4 steps. And pile 1, I have a bunch of excess parts. Pile 2, I've got excess parts. Everything's backed up going through 3. And then 4 is fine because as soon as it got through 3, it went out. Why do I have all this backed up work in process at station 2 and 3? Well, the bottleneck's station 3. Well, you always identify your constraint and you go in there and exploit it. Any operations logistics person say, well, you know what? Maybe we need 2 machines at step 3 because we got a lot of inventory building up. Everybody's waiting on room 3. Well, every time a dentist goes back in his private office and waits for an operatory, that's the constraint. It's an operatory. By the time you load a $30,000 operatory and you end up throwing it away whenever it's done, it works out to about a can of Coke an hour. And everybody who says they don't have room for an operatory, you know, I go back to that deal. You got to have a floor of your office. That way everybody can look at it. When everybody in staff meetings and everybody's walking around with clipboards and drawing plays and designs, of we'll put this person here and this out, you start seeing where operations logistics, where you could stick in operatory. Where if you move the developer over here, it'd be 5 steps away instead of 50 steps away. And when you start tracing steps, you'll understand the importance of digital radiography. If you are an endodontist and you don't understand digital radiography, I don't know where you're coming from. Digital radiography is unbelievable. Get it. I mean, if it shaved 5 minutes off every gosh darn emergency or root canal or whatever, it'd pay for itself double time, triple time. Concentrate on grapes, not growing leaves. On endodontics, what does every endodontist focus on? That general dentists always focus on the obturation. That's why endodontists really were very upset with Thermophil when it came out. Because endodontists, all they talk about is finding all the canals, getting to the bottom, and getting them all cleaned out. General dentists, all they talk about is obturating and getting this perfect seal. Dentists think seal, seal, seal. Endodontists say if you find all the canals, get everything cleaned out, and you just seal it at the top, and you don't even fill it, it's amazing how some of these will even work 3, 4, 5 years. They weren't even obturated. It's not about obturation, general dentists. It's about cleaning and shaping. Now, when Tulsa Dental Product came out with Thermophil, there were a lot of dentists out there, you know, filing this thing out for 10 minutes all the way up to a whole 20, and then they take a 20 and stick it in there, and then the endodontists will retreating these a week later. It's about cleaning and shaping, okay? If you get it, and people say, well, Howard, do you think Thermophil's good? Buddy, you didn't even hear what I said. If you find all the canals and you get to the bottom, you get them all cleaned out, you know what you can fill it with? Bird crap. Now remember, technically, you have to say sterile bird crap, okay? But if you find all the canals, you get to the bottom, you get all cleaned out, you can fill it with damn near anything. It's not about obturation. Hell yes, Thermophil's great. I mean, you want to do lateral condensation, if you take out 3 Thermophils, bing, bing, bing. I mean, as long as it's all the canals found, they're all cleaned out, you got all the way to the bottom, yes, Thermophil's great. Anything's great if you get all the canals found, get it all cleaned out all the way to the bottom. Endodontists talk about finding all the canals. You know, general dentists say, you know, I ask general dentists, what are the top root canal teeth that fail and why? And they're not even sure. I mean, think about it. The number 1 tooth that's going to fail is the maxillary first molar. Why? Because the mesiobuccal root doesn't have, the molar doesn't, and the maxillary first molar doesn't have 3 canals, sometimes 4. It has 4 canals, sometimes 3. And that's a big difference there. And the mesiobuccal root of the first molar is the first tooth likely to fail. What's the second one? Mandibular second molar. Why? Because the distal canal of the second molar doesn't have 1 canal, sometimes 2. It has 2 canals, sometimes 1. And just look at the failure rates, and you'll realize what you're missing. So the first thing we need to do is for the root canal. Let's start all at the beginning. You know, when we numb this tooth up, let's start all the way at the beginning. What is the number 1 complaint I have with endodontists doing root canals? One of the reasons I first didn't like root canals because they were so hard, it would beat me up, took forever, finding canals, you didn't have the education, the armamentarium. I think I'd done 15 canals total in dental school when I got out. I think I'd probably done 100 root canals before I even felt like at least it wasn't torture. But you would send them to endodontists, and you would send them to a toothache, and someone have the big old 20-year-old MOD amalgam, and you send them down there, they do a root canal, and then they come back into your office, and you would, first thing you do is you numb it up, and you take out all the amalgam, and it's like mush. There's like decay and crap, and you're seeing this pink gutta percha cone going right through snot, and you're like, oh God, what the hell is this? The number one thing you can do to improve access into your root canal is first, you've got to restore this thing when it's over. Okay, this tooth failed. Why? Why did it fail? Is there a crack? Is there a decay? What I do first is I numb up the tooth, and I take out of the crown the filling, the decay, and I first prepare it for the final restoration. Until I do that, I don't even know what the hell I have to work with. Sometimes I've done that and realized I can't even do a root canal. Hell, there was decay through the furca. How can you do the root canal first and then do the restoration second? That's why, I wish endodontists would do, they got 5 ops. Teach a gosh darn system. Talk about being a value-added endodontist. If you're an endodontist and you want to have every general dentist referral in town, you know what you would do? If he sent you a root canal, what you do is you would have your assistant do what our assistant does in about 3 minutes and take an alginate or impression before we start. And then instead of drilling a little access hole through the top and you barely be able to see in there, remember, when you prepare a tooth for the crown, you reduce it 2 millimeters. That lowers the line angle. I mean, would you rather try to look over a ledge this high, or would you like the ledge to be lowered? When you lower the ledge, it's easy to see that canal. But when the ledge is up here, you can't see the canal, and you got to look over it with a mirror. So when you sit there and reduce the ledge, the line angle's easy. You can get direct vision. And what you would do, endodontist, you would take an algin of this, because remember, you got to keep one eye on the customer, one eye on cost. The problem with specialists is they got 2 customers. They got the patient and the referring doctor, because endodontists and oral surgeons still get almost all of their patients from general dentists. Now, orthodontists don't. Orthodontists, by 10 years out, 75% of their patients are internally generated from their own happy customers who are coming in every month through 2 years of ortho, and moms at the playground saying, who's doing your child's ortho, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with pedodontists. Pedodontists, 10 years out, 75% or more of all their patients are generated internally. Periodontists, the same thing. And what do orthodontists and pedodontists and periodontists have in common? They're not a transaction company. They're a relationship. You go to the periodontist every 3 to 6 months for your cleaning. Can I get a Sammy? Sam, can I get another coffee? And when you go into the orthodontist every month, you build a relationship. When you go into the pedodontist all the time, every 6 months for your kids cleaning, you got a relationship. When you go into the periodontist every 3 to 6 months, you got a relationship. You see the value added of relationship business, but between transaction business. Relationship is best service. It's not best product or best price. It's best service. If you have a relationship, you have families, you have your family's pictures on the wall. You know their name. When Margaret comes in, you say, hey, how's your husband Frank doing? Oh, did he finally ever find a job, that deadbeat pig? Hey, how are those 2 kids, Piglet and Fatty? Are they doing good? Have they dropped out of school yet? Good for them. And, if you build a relationship, they know your name, you give them a card. That alone, just studying periodontists, pedodontists, and orthodontists, and how by 10 years out, 75% of all their patients are internally generated, would show you why. Look over at endodontists and oral surgeons. They're transactions based. The only part of the body the oral surgeon can see is a wisdom tooth. And the only thing the endodontist sees is the gosh darn root canal. And how do you add value to these guys? You send a patient to an endodontist every week for a year, and at Christmas you get cookies. Wow. And then you send a set of wisdom teeth to the oral surgeon every week for a year, and at the end of the year, what do you get? Cookies. Wow. And these people are such elitists, they don't even call themselves dentists. They ask them, are you a dentist? No, I'm an endodontist. Pull the broomstick out of your end. Go talk to the oral surgeon. Are you a dentist? Oh, no. I'm an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. I don't even know what that means, and I'm a gosh darn dentist. What I want is when you refer someone to an endodontist or an oral surgeon, I want your front office and assistants to know their front office or assistants. I want them to go to lunch until they can pick each other out of a police lineup. And when people don't like to be referred out of your office, they go, but I want to go where everybody knows my name, and I come here, and I met my deductible, and I have my insurance, and gosh, can I stay here? And then their girlfriend say, well, my dentist does the root canal there. And then they go, maybe I should go there, because now I got to go 2 places, confusing. Where if you sit there, and when you check them out, you set them down, you fill out the referral card, and you take that referral card and the treatment plan. I don't want cookies at Christmas for my endodontist and oral surgeon. I want him to not be an endodontist and oral surgeon. I want him to be another dentist on my team. I will fax them the referral card, and I will fax them the treatment plan. And when they go into the oral surgeon, I want the oral surgeon to lean back and say, oh, yeah, I'm looking at the treatment plan. That's right, I agree. You need to definitely get your wisdom teeth out. They're impacted. There's gum disease around there. You can't floss back there. But I'll tell you what, I'm also noticing that tooth in front of that. You know why Dr. Farran sent you to me first? Because, see, this tooth back here really needs to have a crown because you got a big filling with a cavity underneath it, and we don't crown that right away. It's going to get in the nerve and be a root canal and a crown, but he doesn't want to put on a brand new crown, then have me injure it when I take out the wisdom teeth. And, you know, the problem I see is that a lot of people, when they get their wisdom teeth out, they're sore for a while. They've had enough dentistry for the year. And if that happens, you wait a year, you don't need a crown. Then you're going to need a root canal and a crown. So make sure, you know, I want co-diagnosis. I love it when patients come back from my endodontist oral surgeons all day long and say, oh, Dr. Farran, you're right. Remember when you told me I had like a big cavity right here? When the endodontist saw it, he said, you want me to do the root canal that he sent me for and this one here? Because this one's going to need it in another month anyway. And they're like, well, I mean, I have to have it done. Well, if you wouldn't have had a crown right away, I'm sure you wouldn't have to. But I mean, look besides that cavity. It's about 1 millimeter from the nerve. Howard just sent you for this one now. But if you don't think you're going to be back there in a month or two, you know, I can just do them both right now. Like, oh, no. Oh, no, I got an appointment with them tomorrow. I'm running right back there. I love it. I want to be dentist on the same team. And then you're not going to the fear of the unknown. If your value added reset says, by the way, the oral surgeon's receptionist, Margaret, she's the sweetest girl. And, you know, I can just get her on the phone for it if you want me to. We'll fax this over there. You want me to get her on the phone? Do you have any questions about how to deal with 2 places? And they always do it. They say, well, if I meet my deductible here, do I got to meet it there? Or yada, 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 yada. You know what? Let's all get on the phone. Pick up that phone there. I'll pick up this phone. Let's doll it, Margaret. Margaret! Jerry Ann, how you doing? I got Mrs. Piglet in the chair, and she's got a big donut stuck between her teeth and needs a root canal. And we're wondering, yada, 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 how much that's going to be, yada, yada, yada. And make it a relationship. Make it a two-way street. And then, endodontist, when you get this patient, take an impression of it. That's what we have to do. And then before you do the root canal, lower the wall so you can see into it. Remove all the old filling so you can get all the decay out of there. Get everything out of there. In fact, what would be amazing, if you talk to your general dentist, no one really cares about prep design anymore with gosh darn adhesive dentistry. I mean, basically adhesive dentistry, you just take out the defect, take an impression, and rebuild with the composites. It's not any of this 3 millimeter parallel walls with retention grooves. Basically, it's just take out what you have to, leave anything healthy, just leave it, take an impression, we'll get something tooth colored, bond it back in, but talk to your general dentist. And general dentist, that's what you have to do. Take care of the gums before you sit there and start building teeth. And just like in teeth, think about how you're going to restore it first. Take out all the old stuff, take out all the decay. You got to find out why the thing died. God, is it a crack? Is it a fracture? I've gone in there, couldn't figure it out, took everything out, got ready to do it, see a black crack down the furca, time to get all the old amalgam, hell, it was in 2 pieces. So find out why it died, then pack your cord around there, a 0 cord, a 1 cord, whatever you have to do, on. Then start from the, get your root ZX and start with like a little 6 or 8 file. And what you do is you stick that little 6 or 8 file down. It's a 6 file is about the width of your human hair. And a root ZX is like submarine sonar. If you don't have a root ZX, you're cheating yourself. It's even better than an X-ray because an X-ray is a 2-dimensional picture. You can think that you're all the way to the end by looking at the picture. And then you turn on the side, you find out the root's curved. So you can take a working and say, oh, I'm at the end. But you're looking at it like this. It might turn it on the side and it looks like this. You thought you were at the end. See right here? Oh, my file's right at the end. And then you turn it like this and you're 4 millimeters short. Root ZX is like submarine radar. It works underwater. And then what you do is you get your working link down. That's another thing. If you prepared it for a crown, you've leveled it all off, you clean everything out, you'll notice that if you look at every FMX, all the roots end in the same 3 places. So why do you have working links that are, this is 16 long, this is 18 long, and this is 23 long? What the hell is that? I don't see that. When you level it out, get everything out, almost all 3 links are the same always, because look at the X-ray. So the only reason they have different links is because you have different starting points. So then you start with your, night ties. In fact, the sharpest endodontists I know, the biggest brand names, the most successful brand names, they don't even use hand files anymore. So you start, I do top down. So you start with a big old 40 file, it's a black one. You load it up. Here's the key. People are upset with these files because they're breaking files. Well, 3 guesses why tight ass breaks a file. Go ahead, think about it. You might want to pull over the car and stop and think about it if you're on your way to work. If you're at home, why don't you just pause it for a minute and have another fight with your wife? What do you fight with your spouse about? What's the number 1 fight issue subject with spouses? Money. Sex is number 2. Why is the number 1 reason of breaking a file? They keep sterilizing and reusing them. How would you like to go to the doctor and you'd open heart surgery and say, oh, nurse, hand me the reusable knife that we used on the last guy that we just cut in on. Yes. Wasn't he a waiter? Yes. Give me the other reusable instrument over here. Look, these are single-use files. And dentists say to me, but my God, Howard, they're $5 a file. Well, you know, how many are you going to use? 2 or 3 on a teeth? I use about 3 on a teeth. I usually use 40, 35, and a 30. Okay, I'm always get whatever I'm working on up to a 30. So I use a 40, a 35, and a 30. It's got an 04 taper, Tulsa Dental product. John McStan's got some files. Kit Weather's got files. Everybody's got their own file deal. It's kind of like the Burr Company. You know, everybody has to have their own Brasler Burr kit, whatever. But get the 3 files are $5 a piece. If the $15 has got you so wigged out that you want to put a lockbox over the thermostat and confiscate all the toilet paper, raise your root canal fee $15. You're charging $500 for a root canal. The endodontist is charging $700. So why don't you first just start off by raising it to $515? There's single-use file. There's not a consumer out there that wants a file that was stuck in anybody else's abscessed molar tooth filled with blood and pus anyway. There's a little thing called viruses, infection. It's just gross. Did you see the orthodontist on 20/20 or 60 Minute that was when the kids would take their braces off, he'd clean them up and use them again? You're charging $4,000 for braces. The most expensive set of brackets is $150, and you're so tight, cheap, and chintzy, you got to sterilize and give some kid somebody else's braces that was in their mouth for 2 years? I mean, God, the degree of cheapness, there's no bottomless pit to how tight a dentist can get. The other thing is that they're hooking these things up into air turbines. Air turbines have no torque. You can get a burr spinning 50,000 RPMs and reach out and stop it and not even draw blood on your finger. There's no torque in air turbines. You got to go engine driven. If you want 300 RPM, go to engine driven. It's a air driven. Stop, start, torque, and then it binds, clug, and it snaps. So you're autoclaving these things. You're using air turbines. Get it, do it right. The endodontist, engine driven, single use file, and they don't start by taking a 15 file and going all the way to the bottom because you got the whole 15 file binding the whole length, and after it friction gauges the whole length, it binds enough, it snaps. You start top down, you go 40, and you don't push on these things all. You just let it do the work. The weight of the handpiece is all you'd ever need to push. You don't push at all. And you got to get that light feather touch, and you want to get in there and just scrub and scrub. And I put up. I just got my bench. What was the last? Eric, what was the highest I benched this year so far? What is it? 250. I got 250 up this year, or whatever it is. It's the 2 big plates on each side, and your tendency is you just want to scrub, and you'll snap them all day long. And I hate it when I snap them because the greatest endodontist in Arizona is my classmate from University of Missouri, Kansas City, Brad Gettleman. You've seen him in CRA. He lectures all around the world. He's absolutely the endodontic guru known to man. And it's so goddamn embarrassing because every time I snap a file, I got to go give it to Brad, and it backs me up an hour, and I give up, and I'm frustrated. He pops them out in about 3 seconds. It's amazing watching Brad do these things. He looks like Mozart on a piano, and I go out there every year. I watch him for a day. I take 100 notes, then I go back and play chopsticks with my fist. And I think the good Lord gave me feet sewn to my wrist compared to Brad. And, you start 40, you just get a light touch. Let the engine do all the work. Let Ben Johnson's files do all the work. Hell, he spent his whole lifetime inventing for it. Let him do the work. It's the Industrial Revolution. You want to stand behind an oxen plow all day to sit there and plow an acre for the summer? Or do you want to hop up on a John Deere and mow down the whole gosh darn state of Kansas in a weekend? So why do these things not ledge? Well, in the olden days, they were triangular files. Well, these things start spinning around. God knows where the end went. But now we have on the left side, by having these flat edges, These flat edges don't allow ledging or translation. The pointed regular reamers on side, these points, by God, the end whipping around, you never knew where it went. Sometimes it blew out the whole apex. But it's these smooth parts that don't let it walk around. So we sit there and regular reamers are self-threading. They're very aggressive cutting action. And the 04 taper series, 04 means how it flares out. You know, a straight file is 02 taper all the way. The width's the same at the bottom and top. But the 04 flares out nicely. Because remember, the success of endodontics is finding all the canals, getting it all cleaned out, and then they have size 2 all the way up to, you know, size 10 on the rotary instruments. Here's a good diagram of it where it basically shows you an 02 taper here is that narrow deal that from D1 to D2 basically is from D1 to D2 is 16 millimeters long. The threads are 16 millimeters long, a 0.32 millimeter increase from D1 to the 60 millimeters up the canal on D2. Now the other one, the 0.04 taper, from the bottom D1 to 60 millimeters up to the end of the threads at D2, it increases 0.64 millimeters in size. And that taper is just so natural, and since they're round edges, right here, round edges, they're not self-threading, it's a gentle planing action, and look at those files bend. I mean, they're nai-tie. They're very bendable, very bendable. You can tie these things in a knot and they'll unravel. But autoclave them 2, 3, 4 times, get them pumping with an air turbine with no torque, they snap, and they're a dog to get out when they snap. And I mean, ask an endodontist how often they break a file. It's almost never. Now, everybody breaks a dozen of these things until they get rolling. Just make sure you're breaking them on extracted teeth, okay? But go light, use no muscle, single-use files. You don't want any file in your mouth that's been in someone else's pus-filled molar. And look how bendable these things are. They're fantastic. They're fun. Okay, here's a case. Here's a tooth. Here's some canals. They're not too wildly out of shape. Not too straight. Not too bad. Just a simple file. Look at those babies. That's 04 taper, nai-tie files, and that's 435 file thermophils. And you're telling me, I mean, that baby is just beautiful. That's more beautiful than my flawless wife, Judith. And look how those things bend without translating the edge. Now, the old days of triangular files, that baby would have, go back to this thing, this baby in the old days, that triangular file, that would have ledged down. The more you worked it, yeah, get right in here, the more you worked it, the more that'd translate and ledge and blow out the apex and be a failure and later need a retreat or apicoectomy retrofill. The other thing about this is so neat is when you're taking an x-ray, if I put the x-ray here and that file stopped right here, if the file stopped right here and you took a two-dimensional x-ray here, you think you're at the length. But with the root ZX, the same thing, people say, well, digital radiography is great. Well, if I put the film here, I don't care if I use Kodak film or digital radiography, if my length stops here and the thing goes on here and the file stops here, I don't care if I use digital radiography or Kodak film, I think I'm at the bottom. But it's a root ZX that sits there underwater, blood and pus, that's bouncing out sonar rays, that sits there. I mean, every endodontist I know would not practice without the root ZX. I've never met an endodontist who didn't say, oh yeah, hitting that's probably the neatest little diagnostic aid that ever came. 04 taper series files are simple, they're sensible, they're long overdue. Work closely with your endodontist. If you're upset with your endodontist because you come back and you take out the MOD and you see gutta percha going through brown crap, or you're mad that he filed the tooth down and did a root canal. Now you can't get a temporary and you don't know how you're going to temporize this thing without a chrome stoker on. You got to work with your team. I have seen general dentists that say, oh, I refer to this endodontist because he's the only guy in town, but I absolutely hate him. I say, really? Well, exactly why you hate him. Is it because he killed people? Does he have like explosives patches bad? Different religion? Well, exactly what is it? Well, this is what he does. Well, how long has that bothered you? 5 years? And what exactly did he say about it? Well, I've never told him. See, it's dysfunctional relationship. Every time I have a problem with my specialist is the first to know about it. And usually I try to meet him in non-confrontation deal. Like I say, hey, is there any time you can come over to my house this week? Or can I meet you? Or And if they're hungry or they care or they're sensible, they'll listen. Make it a two-way street. Get them to co-diagnose. Get them to go over the entire treatment plan. Get them to be a dentist and add value by reinforcing them the need to go back to your office and get it all done. Here's a little blow-up of these files. Unbelievable. I took down the picture of my family. I had a big blow-up picture of my family in our front room. We took it down and I put up this file. It's just unbelievable. There's the old triangular K-type files. There's the profile tapers. You can see this edge here. Go back to my hand. See this flat edge there? That's what keeps it from translating. See this whole triangular edge? That's what would walk out and translate ledge and blow an apex. That smooth file keeps it planed in the curve of the canal without it translating, ledging, and walking out the side of the tooth. Tulsa Dental products, unbelievable. They even have a new oven for thermofill. Do not heat these over flame. It's not a consistent heat. They get warm and gooey. Call Tulsa Dental products at 1-800-662-1202. That's 1-800-662-1202. Here's another case. Now look at that case. That looks a little wild. And then look at that. There's 2 30s in the mesial 35. Once again, go back. Let me show my hand here. The hand files and K-type files, you would perforate on the side there. And it might look okay on the x-ray, but three-dimensionally, that's a concave root there. A curve and a concave root, you ledge that. And you know when you ledge it, because you know you're at the length, you know you got a working length film, and you're sitting there working your way, and all of a sudden there's red blood in that thing. Cherry red, you know you're perf. Even if it looks good on x-ray, you know you're perf. You know what's going on. Here's one done for my buddy Brad Gettleman right there on the film. Old Brad burns it into the film so no one can take his work and run. Go, Brad, go. And here's other ones. You've seen 1,000 root canals. Look at these things. These are all 04 tapers. These are all thermophils. Go back to my hand here. Look at this stuff. Look at this region right here. Look at that's gutta perch. You tell me that gutta perch is not being slid out in front of the carrier. Look at the tooth in front of it. I mean, these things are over here, cleaning and shaping. Here's one the other day. This one, they come in here. Look at that baby. That's thermophil. And look at the side here filled. See, if it's cleaned out, thermophil works perfectly. If you don't find all the canals, if you don't get it cleaned out, nothing's going to work, okay? This lady came in. There's the bridge. Here's the bridge when it's done. Here's what it started. That's how they present to the office. They present that to the office, and there's nothing they can do, and everybody tells them it's all got to come out. And what do they leave with? That. All porcelain, root canal. That's single visit. Root canal, build up impression, come back 2 weeks later, and they walk out like that. I mean, that's a beautiful service. So, always give a warranty with your root canals. People get very upset with root canals. They always say this to me. This is the number one objection that the middle class, as the income goes down and they move from convenience-focused pricing to, convenience-focused cash flow pricing to relationship-driven all the way down to the cheapest, tightest people, the poor, the lower middle class, the premium focus. This is their objection when they're poor. They say, well, you know what, my Uncle Eddie, he had a root canal, cost $500. And guess what, Howie? And I go, don't tell me. They had to pull it anyway. That's right, damn it. And I say, well, here, buddy, here, look. I warranty everything we do 5 years. If I thought that I'd do a root canal and we might have to pull it within 5 minutes, I would absolutely, I wouldn't do it because I warranty everything I do 5 years. In fact, if you do have to have this thing pulled, I'm going to give you your money back. Now, endodontists get very mad at me and they say, well, sometimes when it fails, it's not my fault. Why did you go to fault? Who said fault? Or what are we back to this? Judeo-Christian, Islamic, monotheistic guilt religion? No one said fault. It's just a bad value market signal to 250 million people. If the rumor gets out in the village that everyone knows someone that had a root canal, cost $700, and a year later had to pull it anyway, then people say, well, I'm not laying $700. I don't even like to gamble. I'm not laying $700 down in a stupid tooth and end up having to have it pulled anyway. Hey, speaking of root canal, I want to bring my wife out here. I've been talking about my wife and kids for a long time, and they came by, Dad. We're in here taping in the Tom Hopkins Institute, and bring the kids out. Come on, boys. Whoa, Carrie, Zach, how you doing? These are my boys. Now we don't. We always have to dress the same. Eric, you're looking nice today.
That's because I have a good-looking mom.
Oh, Eric. So, Greg, we're out here. We're teaching people. We like to teach dentists. We like to teach dentists things, and it's important to teach people things. What do you think your daddy has taught you the most in life?
Bad habits.
Well, I wasn't looking for that question, but Ryan, what do you think is the most important thing that your daddy's ever taught you?
If you do drugs, you'll have to pick up poop in the park.
That's right. If you do drugs, you'll have to pick up poop in the park. Oh, Zachary, how you doing? Can you get his face there? It's my little Zachary. So, Zach, what has Daddy ever taught you? He goes to sleep. So, well, Mom, you're, I swear to God, Judith, you know, I do Dental Mania. I'm always gone. I'm always working. I always do dentistry. You always do the family. I got to hand it to you. You got the best looking, best family I've ever seen.
Well, I'd have to agree with you there. Thanks. I think it was a team effort, but then it probably did help that you were gone a lot during their formative years.
That's true. She thinks if I'm gone a lot during the formative years, they'll have a better chance of being normal. But this is the Farran family, and on behalf of the Farran family, boys, you got anything to say to the dentists out there? Anything? How about Go Dental Mania?
Go Dental Mania.
See you tomorrow at day 21. Thanks a lot.